Chapter 13. Reunion. Kagome walked alone in the woods by herself. Tears flowed down her pale skin. She couldn't believe Sesshomaru had driven her away after he found out her secret visions. He's even worse than Inuyasha, who betrayed her and even tried to kill her for Kikyo's soul to be whole again. Kagome also couldn't believe he told them she hates him. What was she thinking? The truth is, she doesn't trust any other men anymore and no longer loves somebody. She walked slowly in the dark paths. She felt weak because of her heart. Her heart was completely shattered. She thought Sesshomaru loved her, but she didn't want to remain his weakness. Kagome doesn't have anyone, but she was scared if she bumped into Inuyasha. He'll try to kill her again. Although Koga would come by and he tells her that he belongs to her. But Kagome refused to be his woman, which means she'll never be his property. They are still friends after all. She probably wanted to go see Koga and the others and wanted to ask them to stay the night with them. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She quickly readied her arrow. When she turned towards the faces, she saw her old group approaching her. It was Sango, Moroku, and Shippo. Kagome gasped in surprise. Guys? Kagome! They exclaimed as they ran towards her and embraced her tightly as a group hug. Mama! Shippo exclaimed as he leaped at her neck, then wrapped his arms around her. Kagome embraced Shippo. Kirara was here too. She leaped at her shoulders, then licked her left cheek. Guys, I'm so happy to see you all again. But where's Inuyasha and Kikyo? Kagome said. Well, we found out that Inuyasha drove you off a cliff, so we decided to leave the group and come to find you, Moroku said with a smile. Kagome, who is this person you were with? Sango asked her curiously. She softened her icy blue eyes and looked down sadly. It was Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru? They asked. Kagome nodded. Yeah, I've been with him for 4 months, but turned out I was cursed by Tsubaki for the tragic death. Tsubaki? Moroku blinked his eyes. But wasn't she supposed to be dead? Sango asked. Yes, but she's still alive and wanted me to die. I was cursed by Tsubaki because if I ever fall in love with Sesshomaru, I will die at the hands of the traitor. Sesshomaru's strength and abilities become weaker because of my tragedy. But turned out, Sesshomaru drove me away and he wanted his strength back, Kagome said. Oh, we're sorry to hear that. But do you love Sesshomaru, Lady Kagome? Moroku replied. Kagome nodded slowly as she added tears flowing down her face. She remembered how she told him she hated him, which means it was a mistake. She hurt Sesshomaru's feelings, just like he did to Kagome. She would never hate Sesshomaru. She still loves him with all her heart. Yes, but I don't want him to become weak. I'm scared if I ever remain his weakness. We understand, Lady Kagome, but we'll find a way to defeat Tsubaki. Perhaps, probably Naraku is planning something, Moroku said. Kagome turned her head at him. Naraku? Moroku nodded. Yes, Kagome. I noticed Tsubaki was still working with Naraku. We knew they wanted the jewel shards to restore it. Well, we won't let that happen, Kagome snapped, pulling the 8 shards out of her pocket, showing them to her friends. How many shards do you have, Kagome? Shippo asked. It's 8. 8 shards? They blinked. Well, you must be quicker, Lady Kagome. Although, we'll take you back to Kaede's village. We promise Inuyasha won't be around in this village any longer, Moroku said with a smile. Kagome smiled back. Thank you, but I want to go home to see my family again. It's been 4 months since I haven't seen them. We'll take you back, Sango said as she nods her head. Okay, thank you, Sango. I'm glad you guys found me. She and her friends walked in the forest, but they finally returned to Kaede's village. Kagome was glad she finally made it. But all she ever wanted was to go back to her modern era. Her real home. She couldn't wait any longer. Although she'll miss Sesshomaru with all her heart. Kagome would never hate everything. She would never be like Kikyo, the undead priestess, who was filled with hatred and evil. She doesn't want it. When she entered the hut and confronted Kaede with a reunion, she began to explain everything about what happened. Kaede was in shock to hear this. She couldn't believe that Inuyasha would do such a thing. Kagome also told her that she was with someone else like Sesshomaru, Jakin, and Rin. She tells him that she was in love with Sesshomaru, but turned out she is no longer a part of his group due to the curse she has. The last thing she told the old priestess was about Tsubaki being alive and still working with Naraku. Tsubaki had cursed her. Kagome told her if she falls in love with Sesshomaru, she'll die at the hands of the traitors. They wondered if it could be Sesshomaru or Inuyasha. But which one is the traitor? Kaede decided to make some vegetable soup for Kagome to cheer her up. Her friends joined her and had some soup as well. After staying at Kaede's village, she was ready to head back to her era and see her family again. She wanted to cry so bad, but she scolded herself, saying big girls would never cry. Although she's only 15 years old. At the well, everyone was hugging her goodbye. Kagome looked at each of the faces of her beloved friends. "Goodbye, guys. I'll see you next month," Kagome said, waving at them goodbye before jumping into the Bone Eater's well. When she reached through her era, she finally made it back home to see her family. Meanwhile, with Sesshomaru, he was standing outside staring at the stars. He couldn't stop thinking about Kagome, but her tragic will weakens him with his strengths. If Kagome was gone forever, his strength will remain intact, becoming stronger once again. He blamed himself for hurting Kagome and still couldn't believe she hates him for what he did. She doesn't deserve to be dragged away or even getting killed. He damned himself for what he did. Suddenly, he can sense something. He can smell the scent of the clay and soil. He glanced his golden eyes as he saw an undead priestess was standing behind him. She frowned as she stood in the middle of the forest without seeing his face. "So you're Inuyasha's older brother Sesshomaru," Kikyo said with a frown as she ignored him. "And you must be the priestess named Kikyo who sealed Inuyasha on the sacred tree for 50 years. Sesshomaru said with a frown as Kikyo does. "Naraku is plotting to take your demonic power. Once you weaken your power by Kagome's tragedy, he will absorb your demonic power. Naraku must not be allowed to absorb you. You also must not be allowed to be with my reincarnation Kagome. If you two did, your demonic power will be weakened and Kagome will die. Stay away from them both," Kikyo warned. "I see. Tell me, priestess, did you spell my younger brother Inuyasha into a spell, or did you order him to kill Kagome because you loathe her?" Sesshomaru questioned her with a glare. Kikyo ignored him, staring at the skull as she did before. "I loathe all things. I despise every living creature who is bond to time." Sesshomaru narrowed his eyes a bit. "Do what you see fit. But I'm warning you. Stay away from Kagome. If you and Inuyasha ever try to hurt her again, I'll destroy you both, and I hope you'll be back to the dead." He then walked away from the undead priestess who didn't reply to him. She was just glaring around the world with hatred. Sesshomaru doesn't care at all. He doesn't care what Kikyo was hating about. He noticed Kikyo had hated Kagome since she was a copy of her. Sesshomaru headed back to see Rin and Jakin who were having a campfire. Rin looked sad. She missed Kagome and didn't know what happened to her. She didn't say a word to Sesshomaru. He knew she wanted Kagome back. He sighed deeply as he felt a bit guilty by driving Kagome away. He wished to bring Kagome back, but it was risky for Sesshomaru due to her tragic weakening his demonic power. Chapter 14. 3 months later, a love reunion. Kagome. It's been 3 months since it happened. Inuyasha was all alone in the forest with no friends or anything, except for Kikyo. She's been with him all the time. Well, sometimes Inuyasha was running around and heading back to the forest. He wishes to bring Kagome and the others back, but they never trust him because he has betrayed his own best friend. Everything is his fault. He blamed himself for everything. He lost his friends, his shards, and even Kagome. When Inuyasha kept running around the woods, he was pinned in the tree by those sacred arrows. He was in shock to see these actions. He looked up to see it was Kikyo who bounded him on the tree. "Kikyo, is she going to..." Suddenly, Kikyo walked away as she put the arrows away. Inuyasha was just glaring at her in confusion. He began to shout at her. "Hey, what's going on? Talk to me, Kikyo!" Inuyasha yelled. Kikyo spun around with a frown. "Inuyasha, stop thinking about Kagome and the others. They don't care about you anymore." "What?" When Inuyasha got out of the tree, he sat beside Kikyo in the grass field just like from 50 years ago. He couldn't understand why she would do that. He was just glaring at her with frustration and confusion. Now, Inuyasha, calm down. I'm not going to hurt you," Kikyo said with a soft smile, acting as the most beautiful woman in the whole wide world. "Then why did you bound me to the tree? You know you almost killed me," Inuyasha snapped. Kikyo spun her head at Inuyasha. "Inuyasha, I found out Kagome has left you with another man." He blinked in shock. "Who?" "Your brother Sesshomaru. Do you know Kagome had left his place for 3 months? She's not coming back for you because she doesn't love you as I do," Kikyo said. "Sesshomaru? How long has this been going on between her and Sesshomaru?" "They've been together about 4 months, but turned out I overheard Sesshomaru saying that Kagome hates him because he drove her away to keep his strength intact. That's why Kagome doesn't want to come back," Kikyo explained to him. Inuyasha blinked his eyes again. "So you've been spying on them, haven't you, Kikyo?" She shook her head. "Of course, Inuyasha. I just talked to Sesshomaru for a bit. That's why. However, Sesshomaru threatened me. If we ever hurt Kagome, he'll kill us both." He scowled with a smirk. "Don't worry, Kikyo. I can finish him off myself. After all, you're still mine, and I won't let you get killed again." Kikyo chuckled happily. "I love you, Inuyasha. You mean so much to me." When she pressed her lips against his, Inuyasha wrapped his arms around her shoulders as he kissed her lips softly. He let go of her lips and told her, "I love you too, Kikyo." "Oh man, it's been 3 months since I've been gone forever," Kagome mumbled herself as she headed back to the shrine well. Yep, it's been 3 months since Kagome returned to see her family. She explained what happened to her over 4 months. Kagome said she was in love with Inuyasha's older half-brother Sesshomaru. Her family was happy to hear that, but she also told them that she was cursed by Tsubaki. She explained when she falls in love with him, she will have her tragic time, which means she will die at the hands of the traitor. They were in shock by the times. Right now, Kagome has to go back to the feudal era along with the big yellow bag that has a lot of supplies. She no longer wore her school uniform anymore. She wore her dark green and white long-sleeve shirt and dark blue jeans. Kagome is even more beautiful than other women with icy blue eyes and her long, silky black-blue hair. She was surrounded by the blue lights until she landed on the ground. Finally, she climbed the roots to reach out to the sun's light. 1, 2, 3, and heave! Kagome said as she heaved her yellow bag over the rim of the Bone Eater's well. It landed safely on the outside. Then she climbed out of the well. She stretched onto her tippy toes. Kagome stared up at the sky, taking in the view of a clear blue sky. "It's been 3 months since I saw Sesshomaru again, and I couldn't believe I've told him that I hate him because of him hurting my feelings and even trying to kill me," Kagome thought sadly. "I've stayed with him for 4 months, but I was cursed by the mistress snake bitch Tsubaki, thanks to her." Kagome walked in the middle of the forest while staring at the sky. She took a deep breath, then let it out. She wanted to forget about everything from the past. "I wish I could get killed by Inuyasha so Kikyo can have my soul. And I also wish I was never with Sesshomaru for the first time," Kagome thought. "I guess I was stupid after all. I was so stupid to go on a journey with Sesshomaru and the others." "Kagome!" She blinked as she heard a familiar voice was calling out her name. No, it can't be. When Kagome listened to the voice, she began to continue walking. "No, you're imagining it, Kagome. It was just someone else." Kagome scolded herself in her thoughts. When she kept walking, she heard a voice again. "Kagome, is that you?" A figure voice yelled from far away in the middle of the forest from her. She spun around and began to yell back. "Who's there?" She then saw a familiar, handsome, tall, and slender young man with fair skin and pointed ears, along with slanted gold eyes with slit pupils, knee-length silver hair, short bangs, and a purple crescent moon on his forehead. Kagome couldn't believe what she saw. She thought this isn't real, but it is. It's Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru, why are you here? Kagome asked him nervously. I have finally found you, Kagome. I came here to say sorry for everything, Sesshomaru said. She was in shock at that. This isn't real. It's a dream. When Kagome began to run away from Sesshomaru, she felt being grabbed in the wrist by him. It was still Sesshomaru. He pulled her close, then embraced her tightly. Kagome, please don't go. Sesshomaru begged as Kagome struggled to break free, but he was too strong to hold her. Let me go! I'm in danger of you! Kagome cried as she hit him in the strong chest. You sent me away and tried to kill me as Inuyasha did before. Your words and actions don't match. I don't care how dangerous you are. I won't let you go. It's because I love you. Sesshomaru confessed his feelings for her. Kagome was completely in shock even more. She stopped struggling. She wrapped her arms around his back, and she started to embrace him softly. Sesshomaru? I'm sorry. For everything. Don't be. I don't want you to leave my side. I was wrong about you. I don't care how my power becomes weakened by your tragedy. I want you to stay with us, as our family. Promise me you'll never leave me again. Sesshomaru said, adding his tears flowing down his face. Kagome began to smile as her icy blue eyes are also filled with tears. Sesshomaru, I'm sorry I've told you that I hate you. I forgive you. Sesshomaru lifted her chin to make her look into his beautiful golden eyes. I should have done this from the start before you left. Kagome was confused. What do you mean? Like this. Sesshomaru said, pressing his lips against hers. Kagome widened her eyes and blushed heavily, but she began to close them slowly and softly. Kagome smiled softly. I love you, Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru smiled back, touching her blushed face. I love you too, Kagome. We're gonna skip chapter 15 because it gets pretty graphic. You can read it for yourself if you choose to. So we're just gonna move on to chapter 16. And don't worry, chapter 15 has nothing to do with the main story. Read it at your own risk. Chapter 16. Tragic Times of Betrayal. It was morning time. Good morning, Sesshomaru. Kagome greeted with a smile, holding his hand around her waist. Good morning, Kagome. Sesshomaru greeted back. Kagome shifted her body and turned to face him. They shined vividly in the sunrise, his tan skin flawless and porcelain-like. Sesshomaru's face is laced with a peaceful expression, his strong chest rising and falling as he breathed out. What are we doing today, Sesshomaru? Kagome asked. Anything that you want to do, Kagome. I'll be happy to spend time with you, Sesshomaru said with a smile. But all we need to do is defeat Tsubaki and Naraku, Kagome said as she remembered something. Of course she wouldn't forget anything. All she has to do is hunt the shards and defeat Naraku. Are you sure? I don't want you to go alone to defeat them both. Although, Kagome, I still want to spend time with you, and we can see Rin and Jockin again, Sesshomaru replied. She looked at his face and smiled at him. Well, let's just say we'll take a break of finding the shards, and then we'll spend time together. I don't care what they want me to die for. Sesshomaru began to smile and took her hand. Then let's spend time together, but let's get ourselves a bath. Kagome nodded with an agreement as they both headed outside and went to go to the hot spring together. They wanted to keep themselves clean from last night. I wonder what happened. A few minutes later, after they took a hot spring together, Kagome came out of the big cave where she changed her new outfits and her tippy toes. She was dressed in a red and white kimono. This is what Sesshomaru wore with it. Sesshomaru wore his white kimono pants without his kimono shirt. Sorry I have to wear your kimono shirt because my clothes are dirty. Although, I need to wash my clothes. I forgot to do laundry, Kagome said as she walked towards him. Sesshomaru smiled kindly. You're fine, Kagome. You can wear it anytime you want, he said. He leaned down and planted a kiss on her forehead. Kagome folds her clothes one by one, then readied to carry them with her bare hands. When they arrived at Kaede's village, Kagome headed out into the openness of the blue sky and green grass. She goes around the veranda. The fresh air filled her senses. She headed back to the hut, then washed her clothes. It took an hour for her to wash them. She placed them on the hanging tree branch. She sat on the soft green grass and stared at it while it was floating in the air a bit. Kagome, is that you? A familiar voice called out her name. When Kagome spun around, she saw a young girl with a demon fox. She knew it was Rin and Shippo. Rin, I'm so happy to see you again, Kagome exclaimed excitedly as she embraced her and Shippo. Mama, I found Rin all alone in the woods of Jakin. I suddenly took her with me and wanted to play with her, Shippo told his so-called foster mother. Kagome smiled. That's nice of you, Shippo. Well, Sesshomaru doesn't mind at all. You and Rin can play together. I'm sure you and Rin will be great friends. But make sure you don't leave Jock in sight because he's watching you. We won't, Mama. We won't let you down, Shippo exclaimed. He and Rin held hands together as they headed to the field. Kirada went to follow them as she wanted to play as well. Kagome smiled at them watching them playing together. She thought one day she and Sesshomaru could get married. They'll have Shippo and Rin as their children, but family. Kagome will be a great mother one day. Suddenly, she sensed a familiar presence from the other side of the forest. Kagome stood up as she spun around and sensed a strange aura. She knew it was an evil aura. Was it time for her to die? Was it someone here to kill her? Or was it not? What is that familiar sense? No way. Could it be? Kagome? Is everything okay? It was Sesshomaru who questioned her. It scared her at first. Jumped and scared. Kagome spun around and saw Sesshomaru was standing behind her. Sesshomaru, you scared me. I'm sorry, but tell me what's wrong. It seems like you were sensing something, Sesshomaru said. I can sense the familiar aura, but I thought I remembered something, Kagome said. Could it be Inuyasha? Kagome nodded. Yes, but he was with someone else. Sesshomaru blinked in shock. Kikyo. That's right. I can sense Kikyo's presence, but why is her aura differently than the other demons? I don't know, but let's find out. Sesshomaru said as he and Kagome headed towards the other side of the forest. Sesshomaru flew in the path as he followed his younger brother's scent. Kagome held on to his long fluffy tail. When he landed on the hills, Kagome got off his long fluffy tail and found them kissing each other in front of the big sacred tree. They both knew what this evil presence was. It was Kikyo's. But why her? She's just a living dead priestess, not a demon or even a half-demon. How weird was that? Kagome knew Inuyasha still loves Kikyo as she watched them pressing their lips against each other's. She knew Inuyasha was a complete weirdo when he makes out with Kikyo. Kagome began to run towards them and interrupted their moment. Inuyasha! Inuyasha stopped kissing her when he heard his name being called out. He spun around and saw Kagome running towards them. Kagome? Little brother, Sesshomaru shouted from the hill. Sesshomaru? Inuyasha then left Kikyo alone in the woods without a word. Kikyo looked a bit sad when he and Kagome had their reunion time. He leaped towards Kagome and began to question her. Kagome, what in the world do you and that jerk Sesshomaru think you're doing here? Me? I'm the one who should be asking that question, Kagome snapped. Sesshomaru walked towards them and glared at them. What are you doing with Kikyo? You know she has an evil presence. Well, it's hard to explain. Their lecture was interrupted as they saw one of the soul collectors fly towards the undead priestess Kikyo, who completely looked a bit depressed. They turned around and saw Kikyo was standing in front of them. Tell me, does my reincarnation mean more to you than I do? Kikyo asked him sadly, but in a bit of anger. They noticed she was jealous of Kagome for their reunion. Inuyasha blinked. Kikyo, When he was interrupted, Kikyo raised her hand and pointed at Inuyasha with the tip of her finger. He felt being grabbed in the arms and legs by one of those tree branches. Sesshomaru and Kagome were in shock by the actions. Inuyasha was pinned against the big sacred tree. Inuyasha! They yelled out his name. What the hell are you doing, Kikyo? Inuyasha yelled in anger. She chuckled evilly as she walked towards him slowly. Now, Inuyasha, there's no need to be mad at me. You know I love you. I hate you. Kikyo put the spell on Inuyasha with the electricity stroking him down that made him grunt in pain. Kagome ran towards the big tree as Sesshomaru tried to stop her, but he couldn't. Inuyasha! Kagome yelled more. She felt being stroked by those lightning bolts, causing her to fall to the ground. Kagome! When he saw her being stroked down by those lightning bolts, Sesshomaru spun around and growled at the evil undead priestess. Let my brother go, priestess. It would never happen, Kikyo said. She pulled out the sacred arrow and aimed at Inuyasha's chest as she was about to shoot him. Guys! Kagome! Sesshomaru! Get out of here now! Inuyasha pleaded, struggling to break free from the giant roots. But there's no use. Kikyo's power is stronger than his strength. Inuyasha! You are the one who shall die! Kikyo shouted as she let go of the arrow, aiming at Inuyasha. Inuyasha! Kagome screamed as she climbed the roots and protected him from Kikyo. She felt the pain shoot through her back. Of course, poor Kagome was shot in the back by Kikyo. Sesshomaru and Inuyasha were in shock as their golden eyes widened. Kagome became weak as she was about to fall off the sacred tree. Sesshomaru catches her and watched her gone limp in pain. He couldn't believe his mate was killed by Kikyo. Kagome! No! No! Sesshomaru cried out her name, embracing her and holding her so close into his strong chest. Kagome! Inuyasha cried out her name as well too. Kagome groaned in pain as she looked up at their faces with a weak smile. She glanced at Inuyasha, who was completely freaking out. I'm so glad you're all right, Inuyasha. Why did you do that? Why didn't you and Sesshomaru run away? Inuyasha shouted. It's no big deal. And besides, you're always saving me, aren't you? I'm so glad I've saved your life. Kagome, please hang in there. You're gonna be okay. I'll take you to Kaede and treat your injury. Sesshomaru pleaded as he added his tears flowing down his face. She gave Sesshomaru a smile as her eyes are about to close slowly. I love you, Sesshomaru. Please watch over Shippo and Rin. Tell my friends that I hope they'll have happy lives. I want to thank you for everything, Sesshomaru. When she closed her icy blue eyes, her whole body went limp without responding. Her head rolled slowly, and her hand dropped in his lap. Sesshomaru widened his golden eyes in surprise. He knew Kagome was dead. Kagome? Kagome! Sesshomaru cried out her name as he embraced her tightly and leaned into the side of her neck. The boys heard Kikyo laugh evilly. Inuyasha growled furiously. How dare you! How could you kill Kagome? And why did you betray me for trying to kill me? Sesshomaru blinked in shock. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The prophecy was true. If Kagome died in the hands of traitors, then that must be Kikyo. She was the only one who betrayed Inuyasha to use enchantment on him. She even put the spell on him as well to kill Kagome. He spun his head and glared at her while holding Kagome's body. You, Sesshomaru growled furiously. It was you. You're the traitor who is responsible for this. So you figured it out, huh? Yes, I'm responsible. I'm the one who put the dark spell on Inuyasha to kill Kagome to get the half of my soul back, Kikyo said with a dark smirk. You've been using me? And you didn't love me? Inuyasha said, still struggling to break free. You put the spell on me to kill Kagome? Kikyo, How could you do this to me? Inuyasha. You are a dumb shit. You've been using me? And you didn't love me? She doesn't belong here. She's just a copy of me. I am stronger and more powerful than that stupid reincarnation of mine, Kikyo said in anger. They couldn't believe it. All this time, Kikyo put the spell on Inuyasha and ordered him to kill Kagome for her soul to be whole again. Kikyo was responsible for making Inuyasha a traitor. Kikyo was the true traitor here, who played his heart and pretended that she loved him. That's it. I'm done with your bullshit, Kikyo, Inuyasha yelled as he finally got himself free from her spell. When he finally broke free from the roots, he leapt towards Kikyo, then slashed into her chest and her left shoulder with his claws. Kikyo screams in pain as she fell to the bloody ground. Sesshomaru was in shock to see how Inuyasha was pissed. Inuyasha, Sesshomaru said in surprise. You shouldn't hurt the one I love, Kikyo, Inuyasha yelled as he pulled his sword. Inuyasha? Kikyo groaned, glancing her eyes at him who was about to slice her in half. Sorry, Kikyo, but I'll have to let you die for what you did to Kagome, as you're not worth saving. You don't even deserve to wear the robes of a priestess, and you don't deserve my attention, Kikyo. Now die! Without a warning, Sesshomaru saw the blood spill all over the tree. He watched his own younger brother slice Kikyo in half that made her scream more. Her clay pot body was shattered in pieces. The numerous souls of dead maidens escaped from her clay prison, but one soul was just floating in front of them. It entered Kagome's body that made her gag for air. Sesshomaru and Inuyasha blinked when they saw one soul was giving Kagome a second chance. She was fully alive. She got half of her soul back. Kagome was now whole again, and Kikyo was sent back to the dead, thanks to Inuyasha. Kagome groaned, opening her eyes, and saw Sesshomaru with a worried look on his face. She began to smile a bit and started to say something. Sesshomaru? Kagome, you're alive. I thought I'd lost you. Sesshomaru cried out as he kissed her on her lips while embracing her tightly around her back. He can feel her back was fully healed and no longer bleeding out anymore. What happened? Kagome asked him curiously. Inuyasha walked towards them and gave Kagome a bright smile. Don't worry, Kagome. You don't want to know. We'll take you back to Kaede's village and put you to bed. Inuyasha? Sesshomaru hushed her, rubbing her back softly. It's okay, Kagome. We'll explain later. Now let's go back to Kaede's village. All I can say is, fuck you, Kikyo.